on Zillow and see that there's really an agreement on it, you're gonna be the one that tells it to them. Yeah. All right, so let's move forward. Was there more questions, Nadine? Yeah,
We finished the days on market for a minute.
sure.
So I just take a listing, let's say you have 400 days to go on the market. I often tell people, let's
Oh,
wait 30
yeah.
days to get rid of your history.
Right.
Now you have to wait 60 days to get rid of
You do have to wait 60 days. Now keep in mind, 30 days, so to make sure everybody understands what happened, you want to reset. It's not about resetting the days on market, because the days on market always resets when you have a new listing. It's a question of whether the PMP resets. By the way, we got rid of the word PMP in this program, and I'll show you that in a moment. It's now called CDOM, days on market, DOM, CDOM, cumulative days on market. So if Nadine had a listing, and she had it for 6 months, and it never sold, and then Debbie lists it 2 weeks later, there's only 2 weeks between them, she puts the new listing, and days on market starts at the beginning, but it carries your days on market from the previous listing, because there was more than 30 days in between. So in other MLSs, it was 90-day period between, and some of them 120 days. We decided on 60 days in Bright. So basically, if you wanted to reset the days on market and the PMP, you would have to withdraw, actually, I'm using the wrong terminology, you'd have to cancel the listing with Bright. You have to go to your seller, and you have to say, sign this release, there's no more listing contract. We keep the listing off the market for a full 60 days. On day 61, you put it back in, and days on market and CDOM both reset and start at the beginning. So, you know, again, there's a lot of monkey business with this days on market stuff, because some agents want to just hit a button. I'll tell you, this happened down in Maryland all the time. Agents want to just come and hit a button and say, I want to make it look like I haven't been on the market for 6 months or 90 days. I want to make it look like it hasn't been on the market for 90 days. I just want to hit a button and reset it. There's no easy way to do that, because the fact of the matter is, it has been on the market for 90 days. So if you want to reset it, you have to cancel the first listing contract, keep it off the market for 60 full days, put it on again, put the listing back in with a new listing agreement, and now your days on market begins, and it doesn't carry over the days on market from the previous listing into the second one. That's a lot to ask the seller. And by the way, that 60-day period while you're waiting, everyone's knocking on your seller's door, and everyone's sending the mailer and saying, don't list with that person, list with me, I'm way better. So, you know, you risk losing the listing. So anyway, it's 60 days instead of 30. I answered your question, and I know you don't like the answer. I'm sorry.
Somebody withdrew their listing 2 days ago. Is it going to be in a 60-day period right now or a 30-day period?
Well, technically the rules in Trend are 30 days, and now Bright is 60 days. So I don't know the answer to that. I've got to find out that. And that's a hypothetical. We'd figure that out somehow. Yeah, is that real? Is it a real thing?
Yeah.
So you withdrew something 2 days ago?
I took over a listing and I told them to take it off the market until January.
I would lean that the new 60-day thing's probably.
Sounds arguable.
Yeah, it does sound arguable. I think you could probably contact the support center, get to somebody in management and talk to someone about it. And we would probably, because of when it's happening, we'd probably do it a different way. Great questions, guys. Hey, there's still some questions here. Hey, how you doing?
Mike, so I understand canceled 60 days. What about if it expires? Same difference, 60 days will reset if it expires?
Yeah, so again, if it's in an off-market status for 60 full days and then you put it back in on day 61, it won't carry the days on market over from the previous listing into your new listing. Yeah. So it's 60 days between instead of 30 days. And it only affects that thing that used to be called PMP and what we now call CDOM. Great questions, guys. You guys are a very squared away bunch. Let's continue this search for a moment. Let's continue by putting in a price. Let's go in here and say 450 plus here on price range. The rest of this stuff I think you're going to have an easy time with. We understand how to do bedrooms because this is matrix. The Trend program is a matrix-based system, so is Bright. So if I went in here and said 3 plus, I'm getting properties with 3 or more bedrooms. We did put main level bedrooms and main level full baths right in here because we know you wanted that. You don't have to add that field anymore. There is a new section down here called ownership interest and structure type, so it's a little different layout. Ownership interest, I don't think you're going to use very often, but you can. Like if I only wanted properties that are condominium, I could choose condominium ownership type, and I'll pretty much only get condos on my list. But I don't know, Nadine, does anyone ever come to you and said, hey, I wanna buy something fee simple? Can you sell me something fee simple?
Well, I like
That doesn't happen.
co-op or separate now, though.
Yeah, condo and co-op are separate.
Wanted ones that are maintenance free, co-ops aren't.
Yeah, that's the point, really. If you were gonna search for a condo or a co-op, you could say, I only want condominiums that are row houses, and I won't get a row townhouse unless it's a condominium. But if you didn't want condominium row townhouse, I could say fee simple row townhouse, and I won't get condo rows. So you can do it that way. But I just don't think this is a field you're gonna use that often. But structure type you'll use all the time, detached, twin, row, all of those. Howard? Yeah. Right, and that's why we had this ownership type really highlighted here, because down in Rehoboth, Bethany Beach, Ocean City, Maryland, down there all the time, the agents only want to search for condos, or they want to say condo not, give me everything that's not a condo. So you can be specific if you need to here on ownership type. It's a little different way that it's set up, but we think it's logical. You're going to search structure type all the time. The rest of the stuff you know, basement, yes, no, central air, yes or no. There's a bunch of stuff here for parking and garage. Down here, there's a section for a senior community, yes or no. So this would be your 55 plus. Or you could say HOA, no, I don't want a property with a homeowner association. So you can do some things here that I think are improvements on the other system. And you can add other stuff down below here. Like I would highly recommend that you add the field called remarks, because it lets you search using the words that an agent typed into the agent or their public remarks, and it works with the asterisk here. So asterisk, horse, asterisk, whatever. There are no matches where everything else up there is true and the word horse is in there. But if I put the word, let's say, counter, there's going to be, somebody wrote the word counter, like maybe granite countertops or something. 4 properties have everything up there that are true and the word counter is in there. And you're searching remarks. By the way, in this program, you can search, or you can add up to 4,000 characters for your agent and your public remarks now. Now, that's a lot. 4,000 characters. We increased it in a really big way. Doesn't mean you should do it, right? Too many characters is too many. And when you use a lot of characters on your remarks, if somebody prints like an agent one-page report or a client one-page report, I'm kind of giving away what I was going to tell you about in a moment here. But when you go over here to results, we renamed some of these reports from member one line is now agent one line. Member full is now agent full. So agent full, client full. Agent one page, client one page. So the agent version is going to have the commission on it. The other broker client stuff's not going to have any of that. You can email an agent version now. That was a big request from the Trend system. So even in Trend, we created the ability to email a PDF of an agent-based report, because sometimes you need to email a report to Debbie, the agent version of it. So you can do it, and it's still in here too. Yeah.
For the searches, is there a new search for in-law suite? And is there, at the bank in the short sale?
I'll show you that. So in-law suite is right up inside here. It's in other rooms. So again, this is now whether or not an agent offered that information or not. That was also in Trend. You could also say, I want a property that has a certain room of certain type of room on a certain floor of the property or a certain level. So this was all in Trend too. But in-law suite, keep in mind, as soon as I say in-law suite and I say and, it's really giving me properties where the agent identified that there's an in-law suite. So you're searching on what an agent put in. I'm not going to search on that one now. The bank REO short sale is down here in a new field called sale type. So here's where you could either search for that stuff or not. So if you did not want short sales, you could go in here and say short sale not, and you'll get every property and you won't get the short sales. So now there are 8 properties that match everything I chose, but none of them are short sales. Yeah, I mean, when you click on this section here, by the way, there's a little question mark inside here. If you want to know what this stuff is, if you click on that section, we will give you help about what's in that section. It doesn't look like it gives you much here. So a probate listing has something to do with somebody dying, and probably there were no heirs, so it has something to do with somebody trying to figure out what's going on, and there's a probate situation behind the scenes. So most listings are gonna go into the system as standard, a standard type sale. You'll have to pick that when you put your listing in, which just really means that none of those other things are the case. But if you didn't want short sale or REO, you could say short sale, REO, and then not, and you won't get distressed properties. Hi.
With that asterisk, separated by a comma?
Yeah. Yeah, so if I went in here, let's say I wanted to search on two different words, I could put in asterisk granite, asterisk, then comma space, the second word, maybe the second word is TLC or whatever. It's a comma and a space. The key is put the words in between asterisk. And this is an or search, by the way. It means that either the word granite or the letters TLC are in there, not both. It's not an and search. And you can't do an and search either. But you'll use this because this remarks field here, when you're trying to find something really unique for a client or a really unique comp in a property, you can use remarks because usually when there's a really unique feature, that agent wrote that word into the remarks. So it's a really cool feature. Add it. It's a real good one. And I would also add contingency type here too, because you might want to search for active under contract, but you only want the active under contract, let's say, where there's a kick-out clause or there's a first right of refusal addendum or something. You can pick those. Questions so far? I'm pretty much done this page here, by the way, guys. We're going to move to map and results next and then the listing management. So we're motoring forward. Nadine? Pictures. So who knows the answer to that? Questions, photos. 150. Wow. You have 25 photos in Trend. In Bright, you could put up to 150 photos. Again, doesn't mean you should do it, right? 150 pictures is ridiculous, but, you know, if you list something in Villanova and it's a really cool place, why shouldn't you be able to put in 90 photos? We had really no restriction in here. We capped it off at 150, but at some point we might just say, do whatever you want. Because it's your listing. If you want to put in 800 pictures, why shouldn't you be able? Honestly, you put in 150 photos, get ready for hardly any showing. Because I could look at the pictures and say, I don't think I need to see it. I think I just did see it by looking at the photo. So you could really shoot yourself in the foot. Yeah, so. Yeah, so let's talk about labels. And we're going to talk about listing management in a moment because I'm going to show you where to put listings in. You go into the My Listings menu here and you go into Add Edit Listings. We got rid of the captions completely. So you don't have to pick the captions from the list that we gave you. We're just going to let you type in whatever you want. So this is a really great family room. You can type whatever you want. Good. Great questions, guys. Any other questions? Yeah, hi.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't have a category for it, though. I guess it was buried in... I think it was in commercial. Yeah, I guess the big difference is in Trend, I mean, you could go into commercial and probably search for it in here, but we didn't have a business opportunity category. Now in Bright, we have literally a category where you can just put stuff in there, and the only thing that's going to be in that category are businesses that are for sale. Just the business part of it, yeah. So you can actually have it, you probably, when you're selling a business, assuming you're selling the real estate at the same time, you'd probably want to have it in commercial sale and business opportunity. And just make sure each listing references the MLS number of the other listing. That's all. And you can have listings in more than one category now, too. You know, if you have a residential property, but you have something in the basement that could be used as commercial or something, you could have it in business, residential and commercial at the same time. As long as you reference the other MLS number, you're fine. So I have a list of properties here now. Let me take out the, how many I got here? I got 8 properties that match. If I go over to the map, let's just talk about what's different on the map because it's mostly the same. Main thing to tell you is we're back to Google. We were on Bing. The reason we went to Bing was because Google's just giving us a lot of trouble. Google wants to charge an astronomical amount of money, especially for Google Street View. So we had to get rid of Google Street View. We're trying to get it back, but at least we're back in business with them. So we got the Google Maps, which I think are a little bit better than Bing. You can change the map view here from a map to a satellite view, of course. You can also change it to, you can also add this layer called terrain, which will kind of show you peaks and valleys and hills, the darker areas where you can get this. I can see there's like a I don't know what that is, like a quarry or something right there, probably what it is. Matter of fact, that's exactly what it is. I think I've been there before. So that's kind of cool. So you can do that. The other thing to let you know about here, there's some new layers. There's a layer under, this is the layers tool right here. There's a layer down here for high school, middle school, elementary school. So when you turn these things on, if I turn on high school, it will show you the boundaries between Council Rock and CBE, CB West, all that. Ooh, they like me again, Debbie. So here's where we're headed. Where we're headed is, at some point, we want you to be able to click inside here, and it'll select it for you, but we're not there yet. So if I wanted to choose Council Rock right here, I could go up to this tool. There's a new tool, a new drawing tool called Freehand Polygon. If you haven't seen this yet, it's really cool. You click on this, and the way it works is you hold your mouse button down, and you can just draw the shape with your hand. That's really cool. So now I can technically turn the layer off, and what I have underneath it is the boundary for Council Rock. I can save that search. Thank you very much, everybody. I can save that and just call it my Council Rock map search or whatever. Yeah. Well, you can't. If you try to search, it's not a mandatory field. So at the bottom of the search screen over here, you can see at the bottom here, you can still add fields just like you could in Trend. You could add whatever field you want to your search page. But that's exactly the point. No, it is not. You'd have to draw the map shape. This field right here called elementary school. If I search on the elementary school, it's only going to search for listings where the agent, when they put the listing in, offered that information.
Now, how outdated is that school map? Because they changed.
They do, and that's the next thing I was going to tell you about it, is that you want to be really careful with this, because if you turn this elementary school layer on, and you tell someone that this is absolutely the boundary for Heckman Elementary School, frankly, I question whether this is accurate, because it changes often. This is the last version Google's gotten, so I think you always want to leave it in the hands of the buyer, that, hey, if you want to make sure this house you buy is in Heckman Elementary School area, here's the address for Heckman Elementary. Go call them or go to their website and make sure. Heckman's closed? That tells you what you need to know. Heckman's not even around anymore? Holy smoke. So that's the layer that Google has here.
2 years.
That's what you got. Man.
Disregard.
Yeah, boy. And it's not anything we did, it's
Just
just
like
part of Google.
advertising, too.
Yeah, just keep that in mind. You still have flood maps on here, guys, so, if you went out here if I go out here near the river, and let's say I go into this area here near Morrisville, and I turn on the flood map layer, which is right underneath here, keep in mind you still have that. Anything in orange is not in a flood zone, but all the stuff here in yellow, purple, all these little light blue colors, all these properties underneath here are in some type of a flood zone. So your second piece of homework that I have for you tonight is make sure you look up your listings in Bright MLS and look up to see whether the property is in a flood zone. Because when you go to edit your listing, whether the property is in a flood zone or not now is a mandatory field in Bright MLS. So you have to tell the system whether it's in there. That'll be one of the things that you want to update. And I'll show you where you get that information in a moment. When you're in there, it won't automatically pre-populate it, but it'll ask you to go to the flood map. Or it gives you a little search tool to get the flood panel information, because that's what the listing is going to want, the flood panel code. So anyway, you still have the flood zone map layer here, guys. It's pretty cool. If you haven't checked that out, it's pretty neat. The rest of the map stuff is pretty much the same. Still got the same drawing tools. You still have that Enrich drive time, which is over here. Where are we at? Where's the listings we had? There we go. So you still have that drive time icon here. If you haven't used drive time, you can search by driving times. My client says, hey, I work at this hospital. I don't want to buy anything that's more than 30-minute drive from my hospital. I got to be in at 7 in the morning. You can use this and put that information in, and it'll draw the shape for you based on driving time. Very cool.
By speed limit and distance, correct?
No, it's also using information from EasyPass, from cars that have navigation systems, people that do Google searches. It's using real, actual driving times. It's very cool. This company, Enrix, does a bunch of cool stuff. Go ahead and Google them if you haven't taken a look at it. And this tool is really cool. Let's do one. If I go into, let me go back to criteria for a moment, and let's take out on criteria, if I can do it. It's gonna work for me. Something weird going on here. Let me try this again. So if I go back to criteria here, and I take out my geography, I got nothing here. What's going on? Let's see what's happening here. Here's a recent search. Here's my criteria. There we go. So what I want to do is I'm going to take out all my MLS areas. So I'm not going to search geographically at all. So all we said is 450 plus. Let's actually say 450 to 650. And I got detached, active. Let's even look at some active under contract. And let's go over here to the map. And I got a lot of properties now on this map all over the place that match. So what I want to do now, why am I down in Maryland? That's weird. That's kind of odd here. So let me get back into our neck of the woods. So what if my client said, hey, I work at this hospital and I gotta be in, I can't live more than 30 minutes by contract from the hospital. So you can go up to this drive time feature here, and you can either just put in an address that this is the thing they're worried about getting to, or you can just, it knows landmarks. Like if I typed in, yeah, St. Mary's. It's called St. Mary's Hospital? St. Mary's Medical Center.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary, no S.
So it's called St. Mary Medical Center. And it knows it's on Langhorne, Newtown Road in Langhorne, PA. My client says, I gotta be in at 7:15 in the morning, and I'm willing to drive, let's say, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. By the way, all of this was in trend, if you didn't know it. If I say 30 minutes and I click add, this thing is gonna draw the shape on the map for me. All of these properties are within a 30-minute drive, and it's using, again, Easy Pass, GPS navigation stuff, web searches that people have done. And this is not really it's not really a great search. I didn't put in real criteria, but you get the idea. So if you haven't used that, check it out. It's very cool. That's exactly right. What a great point.
It's not right there where some are closer than others, because of probably that's easy.
Yeah, if you change the time, if I go back to the red dot here, and I choose to edit my drive time info, it's going to let me do it.
If you go back to the drive time.
Yeah, if I go back to drive time, it'll just let me put another one in. So I'm trying to edit this one. What I got to do is get over that. I need to get rid of that. That red dot right there is what I'm looking for. It's looking at the dot below it. You know, the point really is there's the dot. I can change the drive time info. And if I say I have to be in at 11 a.m., the traffic is very different at 11 a.m. than it is at 7 a.m. It should make it larger, and it looks like it does. It makes it bigger. But if you said, you know, I'm only willing to drive, let's say, 15 minutes instead of 30 minutes, that would also change it as well. So if I change this instead of 30 minutes, I'm only willing to drive 15 minutes. Click update. Now we have a tighter group. And of course you can do more than one of these because maybe the husband works in Central Jersey and he's willing to drive 45 minutes. You could do another one, and we're hoping that something in the middle would work for both of them.
Is that all in this book?
No. Some of it is. She said with her tongue in cheek there. So a lot of this stuff I'm showing you it's in trend. Everything I just showed you right here with these maps, and it's the shapes. The only thing I showed you that was new here really was this one right here, this freehand polygon. You go into freehand polygon, you can draw a shape any way that you want, and it'll show you anything inside that shape. If I go over to results over here, let's talk about what's different in here. Main thing is, it's called Agent One Line now, Agent Full, all of that. If you want to change these lists around, just like you can in Trend, you can move the columns around. You can get rid of a column. I'm going to get rid of this one here. I'm going to say remove it. If I wanted to insert another column of data, I can click in that colored area at the top and say insert column. Maybe I want the days on market on here, or I want the subdivision name. I can search for DOM. There's the DOM field. I click on that and click apply. Now it puts that on here too. You could even put CDOM on here if you want to. So it'll show you both. The key is if you make changes to this list, make sure you go up to this gear up here and just tell the system to save it. When you click on that gear, there's an option here that says take my current display, make it my default. And then what it does is it renames the Agent 1 line. It renames it My Agent 1 line. That's my version. This is the way I want mine to look. And I can even rename it further by clicking that link right there and calling this Mike's, let's say, residential one line. And the point of doing this is that you might want to have a bunch of these. You might want to have a residential one line, a commercial one line, a comps one line, because you might want to see different columns for different lists of properties. That's all. So get in here and play with these things. Everything I just showed you, you can do in Trend too. Well, I do want to mention this. The MLS numbers over here that you don't like. I know you don't like them. We had to move to a 10-digit code because the Trend MLS number might have matched the exact same MLS number with one of these Central Pennsylvania MLSs. Yeah. Yeah, so some of these MLS numbers, they're the same in two different systems. So we had to give everything this big giant number. So you didn't like that, I know that, because there's too many numbers. But then down in MRIS, what they had in the Maryland area, they had a 2-letter code at the front of the MLS number that designated what county it was in. And they said, we want this back. And we said, that's a really good idea. But instead of giving a 2-letter code, we're giving it 2 letters for the state, then 2 letters for the county, and then the rest of the numbers. So you're going to see this PABU a lot. Pennsylvania, Bucks. PAPH, PA, Philadelphia. PAMC, Montgomery County. So we're going to change the whole name of this thing to MLS ID very shortly. So you're going to see it's not going to be called an MLS number anymore. Questions about this?
Right over here.
Yeah, hi.
I have a question. How's this going to work with showing time? Have we already gotten the reports fixed on that end? Because
Yeah,
use
we
that.
fixed all of that a while ago.
Okay.
We were having trouble about a year ago with this when we went to the new MLS numbers. But a
Okay.
lot of these vendors weren't pointing to the correct MLS number.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to throw us under the bus like it was our fault. Yeah, we changed the number, but we told you to point to the new one.
Right. I'm only asking because we print reports from showing time, and
Okay.
we had an issue with list hub exceptions where we were getting these new MLS numbers that weren't matching MLS IDs.
Yeah, what I would tell you is if you have a real life example, contact the support center when it happens. And one of the things they'll do immediately is check a particular server where all this data goes to before it goes out to all the rest of the world. And they'll check it. If it's right on our server, then it means the vendor is wrong. So
No,
then
they just
you have
set me
to
up
go
with
after the
escalation.
vendor. Sometimes Zillow is not showing the right. We fixed most of this stuff, and all the vendors know what's about to happen, by the way. They all know that tomorrow, all of you guys go live with Bright. So they're all, and by the way, this system, your data has been in here for a year. So this is not just starting. Bright MLS has been running since last September. So we've worked all the kinks out of it before we got to you guys. That's a good thing, because there were a lot of kinks the first couple of weeks.
Another question?
Yeah, hi.
I just got off the phone with Bright about the whole save searches into auto emails.
Oh, wow, awesome.
Well,
Only
there was
took
a
you an
lot of
hour.
panicked folks in here. They will not lose them if they already turned them on into auto emails.
Wow,
Thank
okay.
you.
That's really great, so great. So, let me just tell you, that for the last year, this has been the craziest professional experience I've ever been through. To take literally eight different MLS systems, what we were supporting, and now moving all those people from those systems into this one system has been crazy, crazy. It's been very organized and very well handled, but there's things like this that fall through the cracks. Like, I never knew that was the case. Everyone in my position has been telling people, do not convert your auto emails, your saved searches into auto emails until you go live. And that was the word. So I'm very surprised to hear that, but I'm really glad to hear it too. So thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for bearing with us through the support center, wait times and all that stuff, because again, this is chaotic and we're trying to get you finally into the same system. And as of December 18th of this year, everyone will finally, after 2 years, be in the same system. And it's going to be a big, big thing. And it's going to be good. Because next year, we're just going to keep rolling out cool tool after cool tool after cool tool for you guys in this program. Stuff that you're going to be able to use with your clients. It's going to be great. Yeah.
You still have to change your password every 6 months.
Yeah, you do. I mean, it's a secure, I hate the idea that you have to. I mean, we're all in that boat with everything we use, except for Facebook doesn't make you. But there's an argument to be they're not very secure. This is supposed to be a secure website, so periodically you have to change it. It's like changing periodically your bank. Yeah, I know. It doesn't want you to use the old one. It's annoying. I'll take a suggestion back that we back off of that. The timeout in this program is 90 minutes, so if you don't touch a keyboard, for 90 minutes, we don't think you're there anymore, so it will do a countdown, and then it will log you off. And when you log back in, it tries to take you right back to where you were. That could be perceived as annoying too, but again, it's technology, there's a lot of people using it. We don't want, it's sitting live for somebody if somebody's not using it. But I'll take the thing back about the passwords too.
Well, I have 3 of them, I just keep on using the same 3, can we do that?
That's kind of what I do. I keep revolving through 3 of them. Yep, it's not, it won't let you use the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you go in two passwords ago, it'll let you in there.
Yeah.
So again, if I wanted to print or do anything with these reports, of course, if I tag listings and I choose print, it's going to let me print things. One report I want to make sure that you're aware of here, guys, is this report in this drop-down menu called the Agent 360. And by the way, you have this in trend right now. If you haven't looked at it, it's everything we know about the property. Give me a 360-degree view of this property. So when I click on Agent 360, there's a really cool report here that shows kind of along the top, these tabs, everything we know about it. So here's the listing data. So this is basically the agent full report, very similar to what you have now. It's laid out a little bit different. It will print on 2 pieces of paper. And if you don't want the 2 pieces of paper, make sure you just go in and instead choose to print the agent 1 page, which will print on 1 piece of paper. But next to that tab at the top called listing, I have public records. Here's all the public records data. Next to that is the tax history, where we're going to pile up year by year what the taxes and the assessment was every year. We're still backfilling this. And you'll be able to see, whether the taxes have been climbing up or going down. Sale is going to be deed and mortgage information that we've been collecting. Flood report, this is that report that you're going to want to make sure you have in front of you when you go to edit your listing. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But that flood report, when I click on it, the MLS is going to want to know the flood panel code, and it might want to know, it's going to want to know the flood zone and the flood zone panel. So you'll have to put that in. So make sure you have this information when you're going to edit your listing. I'm going to talk about editing your listing in a moment. That's really the third thing that I want to tell you guys, is that tomorrow, go in and edit every one of your listings. Why? Because there are some new mandatory fields in Bright that were not mandatory in Trend. And one piece of information you're going to need about it is what was the flood information. It will when you go to put it in, but because your listing's existing in Trend right now didn't auto-populate. Yeah, for new listings, we're going to try to put it in there for you. There's a tool in there that allows you to do it when you're putting it in. But you are going to have to update with some new mandatory fields, like electrical is a new mandatory field in Bright. I don't think it was mandatory in Trend. Like, what kind of a system does it have? You may have been filling it in anyway. Like, does it have circuit breakers or knob and tube? That's all we want to know. If you happen to know it has 200 amp, you can put that in too. But that's a new mandatory field, and in some of these other MLSs, the electrical system wasn't mandatory at all. Howard? So Sketches history, by the way, is the history on the listing. So anytime it ever changed hands in public records, and then every time it's ever been in the MLS. Sketches is out in central Pennsylvania. We're able to get some kind of a building sketch. This is just a dummy image here. We're able to get building sketches in like Cumberland County and Dauphin County, and we just became recently aware that Montgomery and Bucks has them. So we're going to go out and try to get building sketches, which is essentially like the floor plan of the property. It's pretty cool. So we're going to go try to get those for you. And then here's a new feature right here on this 360 called Maps. This is brand new. It's going to print a variety, or allow you to print and view a variety of map views here. So we're all competing for the same Wi-Fi here, so I'm waiting for it to catch up. So for this particular property, here's where this property is on a map. I can zoom it in, and it will print at that zoomed in level. Here's that lot dimensions feature that's on the maps. Also by itself, this is a 22,000 square foot lot. And then down below here, here's the actual flood map for this property. This property is definitely in some kind of a flood zone over here. So I can choose to print this easily by tagging the listing. If I tag the listing and I go down to the bottom to print, if you're going to print the 360, what we want to know is, what part of the 360 do you want? So maybe I really only care about the map, the flood, and let's say the public records data. I can just print those 3 tabs. When I click print, it'll print them all. Yeah. I could even go through here and say, maybe if I'm going to show this property tonight, maybe I want the agent full for me. I'm holding my control key down. Give me the client 1 page for the client. Oh, by the way, if you didn't already notice, we brought Flyer back. Did you notice that? So Flyer is back. We took it away from the old trend when we brought you over to the current trend that you use now. We took it away because we didn't think anybody cared about it. As soon as we took it away, we found out you really do care about it. So we brought it back. So Flyer's back, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I want agent one. Give me agent full for me. And I want client one page for my client. And I want the 360, but from the 360, all I want is the map and the flood report. And when I go to print here, it'll print all of those at the same time. That's a really cool feature. Yeah. So you don't have to print and then go get it, then go print again, go get it, then go print again and go get it. Just print everything at once. Yeah. Yep. So there's different versions of hot sheet reports. You can set up a hot sheet report. It'll only print the version of the hot sheet that you have set up for yourself. Because you can have your hot sheet set up with very specific columns. And hot sheet's still in this program. It'll be a similar way you'll get into it, but the hot sheet that you have set up in Trend is not coming over. So the way you set up a hot sheet, and this was asked before I even started here, so I'm going to make sure I cover it. Hot sheet is over here on the left side. When you're on the home page in Bright MLS, it's right here. And even in Trend, I mean, if you were in Trend, hot sheet is out here over on the left side, but right here. So if you had a hot sheet, if you want to set up a hot sheet, first thing you're going to want to do is get into this section and click on that gear. And when it's going to bring you to a spot here called Manage Hot Sheets. Looks just the way it was in Trend. Matter of fact, you're going to have one in there called Residential, Commercial, Multifamily. All of them are just placeholders. None of them are even set up to do anything. So the first thing you're going to really want to do is highlight each hot sheet one at a time and delete them. Get rid of all of them. It'll say, hey, you sure you want to get rid of it? Yeah. Because none of them are running, unless you've configured it, none of them are doing anything. So you can have 10 hot sheets in here. Once you delete them all, first thing you should do is just go to Add. When you click Add, we want to ask you, what category is this hot sheet running in, and what do you want to call it? So let's create a residential hot sheet, let's say for Falls Township. So I'm going to say, give me a residential. I could use any one of these other categories. I could even use this one here called multi-property type, which would let me set a hot sheet up for more than one category. I want residential, rentals, and commercial, let's say all on the same hot sheet. But I'm going to say I just want a residential hot sheet, and I want to call this, I'm going to call this Falls Township hot sheet.
So does what I have set up now start tomorrow?
No, it's not. I mentioned that at the beginning. I mentioned it again. I want to tell you again. If you have hot sheets in Trend, guys, make sure you go into Trend. Here's what you're going to want to do. Go out here into Trend, go to your hot sheet section, go to Customize, and then find the hot sheet you want to make sure you save. Go to Edit Criteria, and take a screenshot of how you set this thing up, because you're going to have to reproduce it in Bright MLS. It's not coming over. And I know this one's a fact, not like the safe searches. So this one absolutely is not coming over. So, sure, let me go through hot sheet first. So you set up the name of the hot sheet, you click Save. And now once you've set up the hot sheet, you have to click Edit Criteria, and you have to basically set the guts of it up. So what we care about here, first of all, you got to tell us what kind of change types do you care about. Keep in mind what hot sheet is. I'm answering the question because it was brought up. Hot sheet is a tool for you so that you can see activity that's happening in an area that you care about. It could be for your own neighborhood. You could have a hot sheet just for that. You could have another one for all of Bucks County for just anything that expires. Maybe you want to have another one that's like an investor hot sheet. Only stuff that pops up that's like under 70,000. You're going to take those and maybe email them to investors you work with. So remember, you can have 10 of them. For me, for my hot sheet, let's say I care about anything that's a new listing, anything that had a price decrease, goes active, under contract, pending, closed, or let's say expired. Maybe those are the only things I care about. And then I could pick a structure type if I want, but if I don't pick anything, it means I'll see everything. Same thing with price and bedrooms. If I don't put anything in price, I'll see everything that occurs in any price. The only thing I really would need to do is geographically here, I need to tell the system, where do I want this hot sheet to run? So I'm going to go into MLS area, I'm going to type in Falls. There's Falls Township, Bucks County. That's really all I need. And when I click Save, I now have a Falls Township hot sheet. Here's how you run it. You go back, I hit the Bright logo, it always brings you back to that home page, just like it does in Trend. And the way it works is you get into that hot sheet section, hit that little drop-down menu, and tell us the time period that you want to see this activity in. Like if I go 3 days, and then I click the name of the hot sheet. Here's the thing, here are the 11 things that happened in Falls Township in the last 3 days. This is, you got 4 new listings here. This one went from pending to closed. This one went from active to expired. This one here went from active to pending, so they got a deal on it. In the real world, the way I think you'll use hot sheet is not even the way that I did it. I think in the real world, you will leave this on new only, and then when you click the name of the hot sheet, it's gonna show you what happened since the last time you looked at the hot sheet. Because that's pretty much what you care about. If you looked at the hot sheet this morning at 10 o'clock, when you come in to look at it again at 3 o'clock, you only want to see what happened between 10 and 3. Don't show me everything again. I mean, you can always go back and look at the old stuff if you want, just by clicking the little drop down and picking, let's say, the last 24 hours, and then clicking the name, and it'll just show you in the last 20, not a lot of activity in the last 24 hours in Fall Township. Hot sheets, questions? Okay, you're welcome. So I really kind of covered most of what I wanted to cover here with you from the MLS side. I'll take your question in just a second, but I just want to make sure you understand that when the client clicks on a link that you send to them, when you email properties to them, this is what they're going to see. We sort of looked it over real quick. Sort of let you know that your clients can get in here and they can click that little icon and say, I love this one, I'm going to make it a favorite. Or this one here, this one here, I'm going to click on that heart and say, I'm going to throw it in the trash. I'm going to take that property and get rid of it. Or this one here, it's a possibility. I'm going to make it a possibility. So your client can organize these things inside their own portal, and you can be notified when they do that, if you want that. It's a thing called portal notifications. And the way you set that up is, you go out here into Bright, you click on your name, and you click on Account and Settings, and you want to drill through into this little section over here called MLS Settings. Some of you might see this, and some of you might not. You might have to wait until tomorrow. There is a defect in there right now, so you're going to probably have to do this tomorrow. When you click on MLS Settings, it'll bring you to this spot where you can set up your header and footer. This is where you set up your email header. Yep. You can set up your email signature if you didn't have one in Trend. The Trend one should come over. But down at the bottom here, there's this thing called Portal Notification Settings. So my client went into the portal, and they set up a favorite. What do I want to happen? I want an email, or I want a text. Or send me a summary email once a day that tells me what happened yesterday in the portal with favoriting. I can tell you, for me, I would probably just set all of these up as text. When my client does any of this stuff, if you want to be able to follow up right away, and that's such a big part of your job, set it up so that the system texts you when they do something in there, and then you can reach out to them. Wait a little while. Don't call them right away because they'll think you're creepy. Just wait a little couple minutes and then contact them. And then if you do this, we're going to want your cell phone number and all that stuff. Questions about this? Last thing I want to show you is listing management, guys, and that's really, I think, the coolest part of the whole thing. So, any questions about portal notifications or about anything so far? Anybody struggle? Anybody think you're going to struggle with this? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you were struggling with Trend before, then maybe you'll struggle in here, but this program is so similar that you should be okay. It's not going to be as tough as the last transition. Did you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. You do. When you go to move the listing from pending to close, you're going to have to update them then anyway, unless you had it set up to automatically go. So the reason that you should edit your listing right away is because some of these new mandatory fields, if you don't update the listing with that new mandatory field and another agent searches on that, it's going to cause your listing not to show up on their search results. On a pending listing, it's not going to matter as much, but if an appraiser, you will. Anything that's pending right now or active, you're going to want to update that listing tomorrow. But you don't have to update a closed listing, really. But if you ever went into that closed listing and tried to touch it, it's going to force you to update that listing with those mandatory fields. But let me show you what it looks like to put a listing in here. Matter of fact, and I want to take your question, but let me show you really quickly. If you click on My Listings and you come out here to Add Edit Listings, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to be in a spot that you've never been in, but you're going to see all your listings in here. And essentially what you're going to be able to do is kind of scroll through them, and you'll be able to click on any one of them and edit them. If I wanted to edit this one on Redding Ridge, I just click Edit. It brings me to a page where I can edit the listing, and it'll tell me how many things I got to do that are new mandatory fields. And this one here, this is not what it's going to look like. You might have 2 things or 3 things. This one was when I started putting in, and I didn't do anything on it, so. Do you have a question? Yeah.
For the header, can you show me how do I put my contact information?
Mhm.
Because when I try to go under, the set,
You don't see MLS settings.
content settings,
Yeah.
subscription, I don't see go and your picture.
Right. Yeah, sure, I'll show you how to do that. Let me get through this one little section here. So again, here's where we're at, guys. I clicked on my listings, I clicked on add edit listings. It brought me out to this, actually it brought me out to this page here. I can see all these listings. There's a profile sheet that you can print, so I would take a look at that. These profile sheets are meant to be like a checklist when you go on a listing appointment. Here's the residential one here. It's a checklist that you can use so that when you walk through a listing, it kind of tells you what you got to collect. And all the stuff in here that says it has an asterisk, it's a mandatory field. So you have these checklists in here. The other thing that you can do inside here when you go to put a listing in,
And then you get back.
you can click on this button that says new listing. I would highly recommend that you just try putting a listing in so that you get a sense of what it's like. When you click on new listing, it's a wizard. It's going to walk you through this process. It's going to ask you questions. First thing it's going to say, what categories should we be using here? Residential lease would be a rental, multifamily, duplex, triplex. Let's say this is residential. And then down below here, we're going to ask you, what kind of a structure is this? Is it detached? Is it row? Is it twin? Pick the one that matters for you. I'm going to say detached. And then down below here, I'm going to pick the ownership type. Either condo, fee simple, fee simple, manufactured, whatever. Actually, I screwed up here. There's structure type, and here's ownership interest, fee simple. So pick what matters here. It says next. You click next. It brings you to another screen. We then want to try to find this property in public records, so that link is created. It's also going to auto-populate a lot of fields for you. So you can either put in the tax ID here if you know it. You don't have to put dashes in or any of that. You probably know the street number and the street name, right? So let's test this thing. Give me an address around here, residential, somewhere nearby. Green, 2 words. So 833 Green Ridge. I click search. I could also put in city or anything else I have. But it finds this property owned by Howard on Green Ridge. It says here's where we're going to put the pin for the map. So it makes sure that it's going to map properly first. That's really good because a lot of people do map searches. If this thing was mapping incorrectly, it means your listing's not going to show up when someone draws a map sheet. So we let you adjust that. Then I click next. We're going to ask you more questions. We're going to ask you, hey, are you putting this thing in? Actually, boy, interesting. It didn't bring it. I missed a spot here. That's really weird. It brought me right past a different spot. Yeah, it will ask you another question, but ultimately, here's where it's going to wind up putting you guys. Let me go back to the listing actually I was working on with Howard. There is another step in the middle there, and for some reason it didn't show me that, but here's Howard's listing on Green Ridge. It's going to let you know with this menu on the left side here, how many things you still have to do before you can publish. So building and utilities, you can actually click on that. It brings you right to that section. There's still 3 things I have to do over there before I can, or 6 things before I can publish. Or photos and tours, I got to put in at least 1 picture to publish a listing. That's different. Trend, you could publish without a photo, right? You can't. You got to have at least 1 photo. And 1 photo is bare minimum. And 150 is way too many, right? So you can put in up to 150. Yeah, if the place isn't built yet and all you have is a curbside rendering, you can put that in. As long as it's a JPEG, it'll let you put that in. But if you're only going to put 1 photo, it does need to be exterior front. If you're only going to put in 1 picture, you can't just make the first picture the kitchen. But if you're putting in 40 pictures, you can, photo number 1 can be whatever you want. It's just if there's only 1, it's got to be exterior front. And by the way, too, there's a section here called Documents where you can upload, your seller's disclosure, all that. Another big change in this program, and I think a great advantage, God bless you, is that when you put a document in here, you can either make it private, meaning only agents in Bright can see it, or you can make it public, which means that when a client is in the portal, they'll be able to see the document right inside the portal. So you don't even have to make it, you don't have to send it to anybody. When the client's in the portal, they see that little scrap of paper icon down here, they'll be able to go in and see the uploaded document by default. That's pretty cool too. So that's really what it looks like, guys. It's really, I don't think there's anything to be afraid of in this listing management section here. I would just say go through it a couple of times and play around with it. Just don't publish it. And play around with it and get a sense of what it's like to put a listing into the program, or what it's like to upload photos. It's pretty easy. So tomorrow's kind of the big day here. I'm going to kind of wrap it up here so that if you want to get out of here, you can. But if you have questions, I'm going to stick around and answer any question you have. Go into this part of the program, if you can, and try to set up your portal header. If you can't get to it today, just do it tomorrow, because some people are not seeing this one section here. If you click on your name and you click on account and settings, what we want to try to get you to is this spot here called MLS settings, but you might not see it because there's a defect in the system. Yeah, so the way you do it is you click on your name up at the upper right hand corner, and then you click on account and settings, that orange button. Yep. Yep, the biggest orange button that's in there. Click on that. You should see a bunch of tiles in here that let you adjust your name, your contact information, all of that, your billing. You want to try to get to MLS settings. If it's not there, just do it tomorrow. Ultimately, when you get in there, you'll be able to set up your portal header, your notifications, all of that. Also, sign up for more training too. If you go to support and then training, you'll be able to see where we are all over the region and come to any classes. Lean on the support center, guys. We got a ton of people that are just waiting for you to contact us and help you out. And if you want to get out of here, go for it. If you don't, want to stick around, I'm going to answer questions. Thank you very much for having me, Debbie. You guys are awesome. Have a great day today. Thanks a lot. Say that again, the front part of it? You still can get to them, yep. Every listing, take care. Yeah, on any listing at all, if I go out to a list of properties that we just had here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you shouldn't really have any kind of an issue. If you're looking at a listing in this program, and let's say you click on this property right here, and you go to public records either by clicking the, there's a number of ways to get to it. We didn't put the P icon back up here, but there's that tax ID. When you click on this and you go to this public records tab and you scroll to the bottom, anytime this listing has ever been in trend, or bright, yeah, and you'll be able to click this one here, 2011. I can click on this. It's even gotten a new MLS number, but here's what the listing looked like back in 2011, and here's what we had on it. All the remarks from that agent back then. So that every listing that's ever been in trend or previous trend is all in here. Everything. You're welcome. Yeah, hi. Thanks for, did you ask about the safe searches and the other emails? What did you ask about? Oh, with vendors, third party, showing time. Yeah, I'm talking about one thing, you're talking about